Okay, Frederick, thank you for joining us. We're calling this, we were debating whether to call this Founders Fridays or Fred's Fridays, because Fred's our plant. They're named after you. You've been our first guest on this series. But the goal of the series is to talk about revenue. And we invite anybody who wants to learn about how to drive revenue for their business to be a part of this forum and to be part of this interaction with us. And then why Fridays? Because it's the best day of the week, even though it's not Friday today, but we'll post this on our site on Friday. So the goal, our goal is to educate and entertain as we go. So, feel free to share anecdotes out of your life that would help people get to know you better, get to know your business better. Would like to learn about your company first. So I'm going to start there. Your company is called Pixelz with a Z at the end. So if you can maybe share a little bit about what Pixelz does for this audience.
Yeah, so what we do at Pixelz is that we help professional photo studios, major brands, mostly in fashion, apparel. We help them do e-commerce image editing in big scale. So we have clients like a lot of big European clients, Zalando. In America, we got Gap, we got Ralph Lauren. So a lot of those bigger companies that has a lot of pictures that needs to go online every day. We help them do their image editing, retouching, all that stuff in scale. And it's very much in the fashion industry where it's very seasonal. You have a summer season, spring season, winter season, and you need all these images to go up. So like one day you have 1,000 pictures, the next day you have 0 images. So what we do is we do that for them, and we can always scale. So they don't have to, hire a lot of image editors day to day or have freelancers. We help them do all that. And right now we're also moving into editorial, so more of the more artistic stuff. But yeah, basically that's what we do. And then we're like a kind of a hybrid company. We have automated a big part of the process, utilizing a lot of AI, but then we also got the manual or in-person image editors. So we can do both. And that's kind of what we do.
That's very cool. And with e-commerce taking off as it has over the past year and a half or so, I imagine you guys are very busy. How many customers do you have overall?
Well, when you sit with the revops as I do, sometimes it's actually not that easy. Also because, we're a SaaS company, so we have subscriptions. So it's some months it goes up and down a lot. But I think we're hovering somewhere around, I would probably say 700-800 monthly subscribers.
Amazing. Fantastic. And what kind of image volume do you process? Can you give the audience a bit of a feel for the scale at which you're operating?
Yeah, of course. So right now we're doing about 40 to 50,000 images every single day. And that comes out to a little bit more than 800,000 a month, I think.
Wow.
So that's the volume that we're at.
Amazing. Fantastic. So if you are watching and you're an e-commerce company and you want to get highly retouched images onto your website, Pixelz are the folks to talk to. Okay, got it. Awesome. And maybe let's talk about you a little bit. Tell us about your role, what you do for Pixelz. Let's maybe start there.
Yeah, so I'm hired as a revops analyst, revenue operations analyst, and I'm kind of every time somebody asks me, I like to describe it as cross-departmental between customer service, finance, sales, marketing, and then I'm just kind of the grease that gets everything going. So trying to optimize as much as I can, trying to help out, alleviate any problems that anyone in those departments have. So yeah, I'm the do-it-all guy that is making sure that we don't have any bottlenecks.
So you're the Swiss Army knife at Pixelz.
Probably that's probably a very good description.
Well, we asked your boss Janice a while back if he could introduce us to somebody who could work with us. And he said, well, there's this guy working with data and pushing leads out to all the right salespeople. Does that sort of describe what RevOps people are required to do?
Yeah, I think so. It's like it's a little bit in the east and a little bit in west, and just making sure that everything is going smooth and that we're growing at the pace that we want to be growing. That's for sure. At least some of the things that I'm doing.
So Frederick, we're going to come back to a much longer discussion, deeper discussion on RevOps. I think first, it'd be great for the audience to get to know you a little bit better. So maybe share a little bit about yourself. Where are you based? What do you like to do outside of work?
Yeah, so of course, my name is Frederik. Right now, I'm based out of Denmark. We have our headquarters in Copenhagen, so I'm kind of in between Copenhagen and Aarhus, where I'm living right now. Supposed to, or not supposed to anymore, I'm going to be based out of our San Diego office because we're really growing in the US, and so yeah, I'm going over there. I just finished my master's degree this summer, but have been working full time with Pixelz since last Christmas, since last New Year. Got my master's degree in economics and business administration. And yeah, in my spare time, all the sports that I can get my hands on: football, soccer, basketball, paddle tennis, anything where I can get sweaty.
That's awesome. That's great. And is San Diego someplace that you wanted to be at, or is it something that you're moving to because of work?
So it's a little bit of both. I have a lot of friends over there. Okay. I have my girlfriend is right now in San Diego, living in San Diego, and yeah, then I got this great opportunity at Pixelz, and they have an office over there. So it was kind of just like the stars aligning, and me wanting to have an experience abroad. So everything was just coming together, and that's kind of why I'm going over there. So yeah, I think it was just a good fit for everyone. I wanted to try something new, and they had a need to get somebody over there to help out growing the office over there. So yeah, a little bit of both.
Well, you definitely have the surfer vibe going. So I think San Diego is going to welcome you. I think you're going to have fun there.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, but you know, I was told that I could go over there, so I had to let the flow go.
Yeah, you've definitely got the right vibe going. Okay, let's come back to RevOps. Okay, so you know, I think it's really interesting when you describe what you do as a combination of a lot of different business functions and sort of being the glue that brings it all together. What are some of the challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis in your role?
I think, you know, as a company, we say that we want to let data decide, but a lot of the things that especially we do in sales, it comes down to, you know, having, you know, we have the data, but sometimes it's just coming from a lot of different sources, and some of it is not always clean. And then one of the main issues that we have is that we need to kind of stitch everything together and smooth over the little wrinkles and spend a lot of time cleaning the data before that we can actually let the data decide. So I would say that the main issue we have is for all of our entire tech stack to kind of speak together, come together, and let us actually make decisions based on this data. So it's a lot of different data sources that we sometimes spend a lot of time on getting to fit together so that we can actually utilize it. So yeah, I think that's definitely one of the main issues that I have in my day-to-day job, and one of the things that I spend most of my time on is to kind of get all of our technologies, in especially the sales department, but also in finance, to kind of come together and actually represent the truth that we want to make our business decisions on.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you work with the sales team, the finance team, I imagine the customer success team as well, and then a lot of the data that you're pulling from to understand how your customers are operating is from, I imagine, from the product side of the SaaS platform. So, you know, you're trying to pull all these things together. You've shared with us in the past the various CRM applications that you have deployed and the various applications that you have to interact with. Can you share that with this audience just to give them a feel for what that environment looks like for you?
Yeah, of course. So we have we're using HubSpot for both sales and marketing. Then we have our own proprietary platform where people or where our customers are uploading their photos. And then we have our internal CRM database. Then we're using Magento for business intelligence. We have a different database for our production system called Saw. And then we are using ZoomInfo for go-to-market intelligence. We're using Gong as kind of our sales training platform. What else are we using? Of course, we're using a lot of Excel, Google Sheets to make all of these sources come together. What else are we using? There's probably a couple that I can't remember right now.
How about your customer success team? Are they on Zendesk?
They're using, so yeah, we're using Zendesk, then we're using a Swedish company called Planhat.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
you can
amazing.
probably, yeah.
And so as the individual, that's kind of the center of it all, trying to bring the data together and make some meaning out of it. You have to then interact and interface with all of these different teams and these different applications. Like, give me a little bit of a sense for what does that work look like from your perspective?
Yeah. So from my perspective, I wasn't there when we hired or when we brought all these different applications into the company. So right now, what I'm spending a lot of time on is like, we want, for example, data from HubSpot to, like, when we hand over a deal, we want that data to go into Planhat so that our customer success managers have that data and they can act on that data. And then we want to fire it back over to a report that we're having in Google Sheets so that the people that handed over the deal can actually see, is it moving in the right direction or do we not do the handover properly? And so I'm talking to Zapier, Planhat, HubSpot, how we can set up webhooks to make everything fire to each other, making all our APIs work properly as they're supposed to. So it's a lot of stakeholders in different places that I'm trying to talk to make everything work.
Got it. So Frederick, when we first reached out to you, you were grappling with a couple of interesting use cases for your CSM team, for your sales team, and you shared that with us. And that became the primary use case on which we are interacting with you in an early adopter capacity. Would you be, it'd be great if you could just share that use case with this audience, so then we can maybe build on that a little bit and talk about how we're working together.
Sure. So one of the things that, we as a SaaS company are very much focused on is actually when we have a deal coming in, that we are realizing the revenue that we're forecasting this deal to bring to us. Because, we have salesmen, we have BDRs, SDRs, forecasting a certain deal size. And at some point in that process, they hand it over. And at that point, it could be a deal that's supposed to be worth over the first year $200,000. But then we want to make sure that we're actually getting them set up and ramped properly. And that's where we kind of, have our first problem, because we're using a lot of different we have an accounting system. That's where our invoicing goes to. We have an order system where, they're seeing the order sizes. And then for us, it's kind of a problem for us to actually in real time see how much revenue are we getting from these new clients, how many images are they uploading, and do we need to step in and do something to kind of ramp them better. So especially within the first 30 to 90 days, it's really important for us that we're tracking in real time how they're ramping revenue wise. So yeah, that was one of the things where we're pulling in data from 3, 4, 5 different sources, and where we were struggling to do that on our own. And yeah, that's where you said where you guys come into the picture.
Got it. And so just to kind of recap, what I heard is that you have a consumption-based pricing model, and then you do the initial forecast with your customers, but you have to make sure that your customers are actually consuming what they committed to. Otherwise, you cannot recognize that revenue, right? Is that,
exactly.
is that
so again, it's a hybrid model where we have recurring revenue and we have a subscription price.
Right. Right.
And in the forecasting, we're actually pulling out the subscription price, and we're only looking at the non-recurring revenue. So it's like people pay subscription and they pay per image, and we're only looking at the per image price, because that's how we can see how they're getting ramped and how many images they're actually uploading.
Got it. Very interesting. And when we first interacted with you, you were running all of this in Google Sheets, which made my head spin when you walked us through it. But maybe share a little bit about some of the challenges of, Google Sheets, we see that utilized everywhere, but I think it'd be helpful to understand what works well with Google Sheets, and then where are the limitations? Where do you start to hit some boundaries?
Yeah, so I think for a guy like me who's new to the whole coding, SQL, Python, all those things, that's kind of like the only place where I can actually stitch things together. I think like what works really well is that you can kind of do whatever you want. It just takes a little bit of longer time, and you can make everything come together. But the problem for me is that, then if I need something developed in Magento in our business intelligence system, then I would always need to go to our dev, and they're doing their own things and they're busy. We're still growing a lot, so they have a lot to do just on our platform and operations wise. So sometimes, it can be a month before they can, have some of my stuff in their sprints. So for me, it's the problem is that I would always need to go to other stakeholders to kind of help me out before I can move on. So it's just hitting a lot of bottlenecks all the time. And I think that's kind of, one of the main problems for me. And then also the automatic updating. It's, for me, I always have to, Monday morning, 9 to 10, spend an hour, maybe more, just, refreshing all the data, pulling it from the data sources, entering it in, transforming it so that it's, fitting with everything. So it's just time consuming, and it's not real time, and it's not automatic. So that's definitely some of the bigger issues that I'm having.
Yeah. So, very interesting. I think the way that you just summed it up, which is it does a lot of the things you needed to do, but it's not real time and not automatic. We've engaged in an early adopter capacity, so we're immensely thankful for the work that you're doing with us and the time you're giving us to help along the build out of the solution at Immersa, working directly with our product team. Share a little bit about what that experience has been like for you in terms of, you've seen our demo, you've seen the vision of where the product's headed, and we are in the process of working through it and delivering it. Give us a little bit of your sense and your feedback for what you've seen so far.
Yeah, I think, when you're working with data on a daily basis, you have like these dream scenarios where everything is just being automated, and whenever there's something new is happening, you want the right stakeholders to get the information right away so they can act on it. But that for me was kind of like an illusion. Like that was not really going to be possible in any way, because with the business intelligence system, you always have to go in, you have to look, and then you have to like analyze it, and then you go and tell somebody right, how they're supposed to act on it. But one of the really smart things that you guys were showing me were that you could set up these plays, where if we have a number going above a certain threshold or under a certain threshold, it would automatically be a play for somebody to act on it. So that that whole sequence of that being automated and going to the right people and alerting them that now this is happening, you have to do something about it. That was one of the things that I was really impressed with, and that I think is one of the best use cases for us, at least. Yeah.
And we are in the middle of putting all of this together for you, but you have already gone through our onboarding process over a call. I think it was about a week ago. Anything you'd like to share from that experience? What was the onboarding like for you?
Super smooth. I think, when we started, I was thinking a little bit like, okay, because I'm stitching everything together and I'm having like, in Google Sheets, it's like A to EF, it's like 140 columns. I was thinking, it's going to be a lot of explanations from my side, like why I'm doing things this way. and what this means and what that means and what the whole how everything plays together. But it was like I gave you guys access to some of the data, and then I think it was it Aman just a couple of weeks later, just like everything was automatic in his system, and I was just kind of looking at it like, how did you just figure that out? So yeah, a lot smoother and not very time consuming compared to what I at least thought that it was going to be like. So yeah.
Great. So yeah, and Aman is my co-founder and the brains behind the operation, and the guy who's going to make our collective dreams come true in terms of making it really easy for you to access all this data. But we're well on our way. We are now working through some of the additional capabilities that we've shown you, and you'll start to see that come alive in the product over the next several weeks. Okay, great. So let me maybe shift gears a little bit. And you've recently entered the RevOps industry, and I believe this is your first role in that capacity. And we've learned a lot from our interactions with you on the challenges that you face. How do you tackle them, and how do you try to bring the entire organization together around this challenge of recognizing revenue and getting consumption going for your customers? From where you sit, how do you see RevOps evolve as a role in the industry, particularly for B2B SaaS organizations?
Well, I think it's especially in the B2B SaaS, I think what's going to be really important is that, you're able to act on everything as quickly as possible, and that, you're not siloing your departments, because there are so many, in almost every industry now, there's so many different companies competing for, a certain target market. So just kind of like the competition is going to grow, and it's going to grow. So I think it's going to be really, really important that everything everyone is talking together. All the departments are like closer together. The handovers between everything is better. That your analysis is on point and almost in real time as far as possible, because otherwise, there's just going to be competitors who are doing that better than you. And when you're working with subscriptions, it's all about churn, right? You got to keep your churn low. So for us, it's almost even more important that, we're actually growing the customers that we have more than it is acquiring new ones. So it's all about having all those little handovers internally in our company work as smooth as possible. So I definitely think that, having those bottleneck alleviators that we RevOps analysts, or whatever the title may be, are. So I think that's definitely going to be more and more important with time. Yeah. Got
it. Great. Frederick, one last question along the RevOps lines. Are there any communities or forums that you're a part of where you get to interact with people in similar roles as you are?
Well, I'd say I'm still fairly new within this domain, but I'm a member of RevGenius, their Slack community. So I'm definitely in there surfing a lot, browsing different different forums and channels in there, getting a lot of inspiration. I'm myself working on being a little bit more active, networking a little bit more, just because I think it's really important, and that you always need to learn. But for me, I've always said that one of my best qualities is that I'm great at Googling. So, you just find all these different forums, Stack Overflow, all these different places where, it's so rare that you're actually the first one to have a problem. HubSpot's communities as well. So if you're good enough at Googling, you're always going to end up somewhere had the same problem as you, and you're probably going to be able to find the solution. But yeah, I'd say RevGenius and the HubSpot community for sure. And yeah, otherwise, you just got to find the right wording, figure out what is actually your problem, and Google it. And most of the time you can find a solution. Yeah. That's perfect. Okay. So we're going to take this towards a close, and I promise you there's going to be a series of surprise questions at the end. So this is the segment now where we ask you some rapid fire questions. It is a word association game. It's a trick I stole from
the CMO at Adobe, where I used to work in the past, and she's a master at it. But the goal is to really understand what's top of mind for you. So we're going to throw out a word, and then you throw back a word, and you do it, and you throw back the first word that comes to mind, and do it fast, and you don't really have to think any more about it. Does that sound good?
Right. All right. Disclaimer: English is not my first language.
Okay. All right. That's okay. If you'd like this, if you'd like to throw out a word in a different language, you can do that, as long as you tell us what it means.
I'll do it in English.
Okay. Perfect. And then just remember one word. So single word, no more than that.
Got it.
Okay. We'll start with something easy. San Diego.
Heat.
Okay. How about Denmark?
Cold.
Okay. RevOps.
Greece.
Okay. Integration.
That's a tough one. I don't know. Immigration. I'm thinking about refugees here.
I meant integration, not immigration.
I heard it wrong.
But we'll take that one too. Okay. How about spreadsheets?
Google.
Google. Okay. Revenue.
Growth.
Frederick.
Curls.
Okay. And Immersa.
Integration.
Thank you. Frederick, it's been fantastic to have you join us today. You've been very generous with your time in participating, not just in this forum, but working with us in solving a very complex problem for this industry. And we will encourage our audience to check out Pixelz if they're in the e-commerce space, or if they have any need for touch-ups on photography, and check out your website at pixelz.com. And you can certainly check us out at immersa.co. And for anybody who's watching, if you'd like to be on this forum, and if you have a point of view on how revenue operations evolves from here, we'd love to have you join us. Frederick, thank you so much.
My pleasure.